Hello and welcome. You know, if you're in finance, you know the feeling. It's kind of like you're an orchestra conductor, but instead of instruments, you're trying to get spreadsheets from Tokyo, ERP data from Berlin, and some local plans from Chicago to all play the same tune. The big question, right, is how do you get all that financial data into one unified symphony in SAP S4HANA for group reporting? Well, you've definitely come to the right place to figure that out.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start by digging into the group planning challenge itself. Then we'll explore 3 different paths to get your data where it needs to go. There's the manual path with Excel, the more structured guided path using forms, and then the power path with SAP Analytics Cloud. And by the end, you'll have a clear roadmap to choose the absolute best route for your company.
So let's just dive right into the main problem. You've got all these different entities, right? Some are fully integrated into S4HANA, others not so much, and each one has its own plan data. Your job is to somehow create a single consolidated plan for the whole group. It really is like herding cats, but with data. This, right here, is the central question we're tackling today. How do you go from this scattered landscape of spreadsheets and local plans to a single, coherent, and most importantly, actionable financial plan for your entire group? Let's check out the options. The good news is you've got options. SAP S4HANA gives you a few different ways to handle this, and we can think of them as 3 distinct paths. Each one has its own vibe and its own strengths, and which one you pick really depends on your company's setup and just how sophisticated you want to get with your planning. Here they are, at a glance. You've got the manual path. That's all about flexibility with file uploads. Then there's the guided path, which brings a bit more structure to the party. And finally, the power path, which, well, it unlocks some seriously dynamic, truly integrated planning. So let's break each one down, starting with the tool we all know and, well, the tool we all know. First up, the manual path. What's the one tool you will find in every single finance department on the entire planet? Yep, it's Excel. This is your classic upload method, the universal language of numbers, and you bet SAP fully supports it. So what is it exactly? Well, to put it simply, it is the easiest method out there. You take your plan data, you pop it into a flexible file format, and you upload it. Doesn't matter where that data came from. It's a very, very straightforward approach.
But here's the trade-off, and there's always one. On the one hand, this thing is the ultimate in flexibility. It works for every single company, doesn't matter if they're fully integrated in S4HANA or not. But on the other hand, it's a completely manual process. It's totally disconnected from any real-time data, and it's missing all of the advanced planning functions we're going to see in a bit.
Okay, let's move on to option number 2, the guided path. This is where we start using data collection forms directly inside S4HANA. It's a real step up in terms of convenience and control.
Think of it like this. You're moving from a blank piece of paper to a fill-in-the-blanks form. This method lets your subsidiaries take responsibility for their own numbers. They use these structured forms inside the system to manually punch in their plan data exactly where it needs to go. This adds a layer of standardization you just don't get with a loosey-goosey Excel file.
And here's the trade-off for the guided path. It's definitely more convenient for your subsidiaries, and it forces a structured data entry process, which is, fantastic for data quality. However, and this is a big however, at the end of the day, it's still a manual process. You're entering data, you're not generating it, and you're still missing out on those powerful capabilities like running simulations.
Okay, now let's talk about the fast lane. This brings us to our third and most advanced option, the power path, using SAP Analytics Cloud, or SAC. This is where we leave simple data entry in the dust and just accelerate into this whole new world of dynamic and intelligent planning. So what makes SAC the power path? Well, this is where things get really exciting. You're not just entering data anymore, you are generating it. You can copy last year's actuals to create a baseline for next year's plan with a click. You can run complex simulations like what's the actual financial impact of hiring 5 new people. You can model everything, the extra salary, IT costs, even having to rent more office space. This is where planning becomes a strategic weapon, not just a financial chore. And this quote just nails it. With Excel or Forms, your plan is basically a static report of what you hope will happen. With SAC, your plan becomes a living, breathing, dynamic model of your business's future, one that you can tweak, test, and refine on the fly. But hold on, it's not quite that simple. Once you decide to take the power path, you've got another choice to make. See, SAC offers two different ways to integrate with group reporting, and the key is figuring out which one is the right fit for what you're trying to do. Let's look at the two roads for SAC. And real quick, you're going to see ACDOCP. That's the table for your day-to-day operational plan data. Then you'll see ACDOCU. That's the big one, the Universal Journal for Group Reporting. Got it? Okay, so on the left, you've got Scenario 3A. This one is only for your integrated companies. The plan data gets written back to that operational table, ACDOCP, and then you need a final release step to push it into the group journal, ACDOCU. Now on the right, Scenario 3B is for all your companies. It writes the plan data directly into the group journal, ACDOCU. It's just a much more direct path for getting data ready for consolidation.
Let's trace the data flow for Scenario 3A, the one with the extra step. First, your actual data from the ACDOCA table gets pulled into SAC. Second, you do your magic, create your plan, and it gets exported back to that operational plan table, ACDOCP. Finally, you have to go into S4HANA and perform a release, which copies that data over to the group journal, ACDOCU. 3 steps.
Now compare that with Scenario 3B. See how much cleaner this is for group consolidation? You import group reporting data into SAC, create your plan, and then bam, you export it directly to the group journal ACDOU. It's a clean, 2-step process built specifically for consolidation.
Okay, we have covered a lot of ground. We've walked the manual path, the guided path, and we've explored the 2 different forks in the power path. So, how in the world do you choose? Let's bring it all together in a final summary to help you make that call.
This table pretty much lays it all out. If you need maximum flexibility and you're dealing with both integrated and non-integrated companies, Excel is your go-to, but you're getting low integration. If you want more structure, forms work for everyone, giving you a medium level of integration. Now, if you're doing deep operational planning just for your integrated companies, SAC Scenario 3A is your high integration choice. But if your main goal is pure consolidation planning across all your company types, SAC Scenario 3B gives you that high integration directly where you need it most.
So, here's the bottom line. There is no single best answer. The right path for you depends completely on your context. You have to match the tool to your company's specific structure and, just as importantly, to your planning ambition. I mean, are you just collecting data, or are you trying to model the future?
And that's really the thought I want to leave you with. Once you've chosen your path and you have this powerful planning engine at your fingertips, the real work and the real fun begins.